You know, people have always predicted the future. You can go back to the 14th century Nostradamus, who is probably the most famous astrologer of all, who wrote these quatrains, and how he did that was a mixture of looking at the planets and also scrying, which is a form of looking at crystal balls. So you kind of are connecting psychically, but you're staring into an object to get visions of the future. And of course his quatrains are so famous that anytime there's a big disaster, people are racing for the Nostradamus books to find out, oh, did he predict this? I think also it's important to realise that people who have these kinds of gifts do it in different ways. So I use astrology because I like to be able to look at charts and understand where the planets are so that I can make my predictions. But other people just use their psychic skills. And that's where you have people using tarot, or they might just be talking to their own spirit guides who then talk to the person that they're reading spirit guides, and they have a little conversation while we're having a reading. It's just easier for them to do it that way. For me, it's easy to look at the charts, and a horoscope chart is like a map, or it's like a blueprint of somebody's of birth. But that chart moves and changes, and often these charts actually still operate for years later. For example, I did Princess Diana's chart years and years ago, and I looked at her chart when I was looking at the new princess, Princess Charlotte, who was just born in May, and I thought, I wonder what Diana's chart is doing right now. And I had a look at it and I was like, wow, this chart is so similar, and the connections between the two are just amazing. So the amazing thing about time is that it isn't just a straight line. It's actually like a spiral. So you can tap into the past and you can also tap into the future. So what we are experiencing here, has it already happened? Who knows? But what I like about looking at the astrology chart is that I can look at the movements of the outer planets, and I can stretch back thousands of years to be able to do that. And I can go thousands of years ahead as well. So I can look at what's happening now for somebody, or I can look at what might happen 10 years down the track. And the cycles are really important because the planets are moving around us. And of course we're moving on planet Earth, which is another interesting thing that most people don't realise. We're actually spinning around and moving around the sun. And this is what gives us our yearly cycle, which is broken up into the seasons. So we have, you know, our spring and autumn equinoxes and the summer and winter solstices. And what we can do is basically break the year into 4 distinct parts. And within those parts, there's also the moon cycles. So each month, the moon comes back to a spot where it's in a different sign each time. And so the moon moves from a new moon, which is when it's together, and when you look up at the sky at night, you can't see anything. And then it moves to a full moon, where you've got that big, fat, full moon. And that's what's called a waxing moon. So the other part of the moon cycle is when it goes from big down to small, which is called the waning cycle. And that's really good time for pulling out weeds, for cutting your hair, for releasing things. It's a really important time if you've got some things that you want to get rid of. And that's the time to be doing it, is when the moon is waning.